Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be doing more upgrades on this Tokyo Marui USP Compact. Today we're going to be working on upgrading the slide. So we're going to be changing this plastic slide for the metal one. So before we kick off today, if you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. And as I say, we're going to be looking at this Tokyo Marui USP Compact and taking the slide from the plastic slide to a metal one. So where we left off last time is we upgraded the outer barrel, the inner barrel, the hop, and basically that was the extent of the upgrades last time. So let's kick on and look to start removing the various parts and get into the internals. So this is the Tokyo Marui USP Compact, and it's part of my upgrade project for this. We are basically just working through the various pieces, and we will basically not be looking at the lower today. We might at the end get on with the hammer spring, but for the moment let's just deal with this guy here. So I'm not taking one of these apart, so this is going to be a little bit new. So I'm going to look to kind of get the things apart. So we've got our recoil spring, we put that to one side. This is the carriage for the hop, which is the barrel, and hold on, I need to just take the thread protector off, and let's get back to it and just be able to lift that out. So there we have our inner barrel, and then this is the Tokyo Marui slide, and we are basically going to sort of pull this apart and look to put in the various things on the new one. So let's quickly just take a look at the new slide and see how we are different. So the new slide, we've got our sights which will go here and here. The front sights are just a push in. We're not going to take these sides off. We have two new sets of sights to use. So we'll be looking at those. There's a couple of holes here, and there are some bits for this slide. So kind of got to work out what's what. So we have essentially this piece here, which I think is the ejection, something to do with the ejection system or the real thing. And I think on this it's just plastic moulding, so we will be dealing with that. And that's this, it's got a spring in it. And then we have, I think this is something to do with the recoils, the spring on the nozzle. So we've got a metal piece, a little brass bar, and we've got this guy here and a spring. So first off, kind of got to pull this apart. So let's see if we can get this apart. So our iFixit toolkit, we will undo some screws, see what comes of things once we've got these out. Oh, it's on the actual screwdriver. So I've never actually taken this slide apart, so I have no idea how to do this. It is basically me just trying it out. So I'm guessing that actually when I'm taking this apart, I'm kind of looking at the parts that are coming out versus the parts that are in there already. This part here goes, and this I think it goes here on the slide. Kind of goes in there, I think. So it kind of goes in on this little edge here, pushes in. So and I'm wondering how that impacts this guy here. So first things first, I'm going to try and get this out because I've got a funny feeling it's going to allow me to get this out. Screw back there. Actually, I think we might be able to just, because it's plastic, we might just be able to kind of trick it into popping down. Yes. I think, there we go. And we almost lost the spring. To keep an eye on this guy. So that's the carriage out for the nozzle. And I'm just seeing if there's anything more in there that we need. I think we're good. So one of the things we might do is we'll look at this at the moment, and this is the piston. Now we have this piston head that we've got from a Laylax, and what I'm going to do is just to check to see if this is going to work. I have my calipers, so if we just zero these and we take that, and it's 14.65 mil, and then we take this one and its widest point, I think it's actually about the same, so we should be able to swap these over. So I think we should be able to swap the piston head over. So let's do that. So we need to remove this screw. That's the old screw, and we had a little pack of screws here. Now I'm trying to think, actually there's a particular screw that works best with each, I think. Okay, so let's go with this longer screw. We've got two lengths of screws. We've got one which acts as the XDM, the FM57 and the PX4, and then there's one that goes on the OMP9 and the HK45. So, and the longer one is the one on the HK45 and the OMP9. So let's just compare these screws. Of course, it's right in one of these awful little bags. So this is the original screw and the new screw, and the kind of, yeah, the new screws. This longer screw will be the perfect one for this. So the way this goes in is these holes you've got on the piston. These are facing outwards, so essentially it'll be mounted like so, and then we'll drop the screw in there. It's a plus head, so we're good on the screwdriver front, and we can just drop that in and then tighten that up, and that should be good. And then what we'll do is drop a little bit of silicone grease around the piston head for the O-ring. Should have probably done this before, I actually think, because I've missed some around the sides, but what we can do is just use a little bit of paper or card or something. That should be enough, and we've got it all around. You pop the piston in, and we'll just give it a bit of movement just to make sure it's all lubed up, and then that's that. Now, one of the things I've got to kind of remember is figure out where the actual spring came from. So when the spring came out of this, which was facing this way, spring, I think, was on this side here. Now this plastic pin is, I think, what's replaced by this guy here. So just to be on the safe side, we'll just grease this up a bit. Pop that there for a moment. So we don't need that. We do need this. That just clips in there as far as I can make out. This should drop down like so. At least I think it should. Yeah, it will, but we do need to worry about the spring that goes in there, where that sits. To be honest, just check something. This is actually the instructions for this. They're in Korean or Japanese. What I think happens with this is it goes in, yes, it goes in here. And I'm kind of wondering if it goes on the outside. I think it's supposed to kind of pop into this gap here. By the way, before we kind of put this all back together, we will lube this up again to make sure everything is nice and lubricated. Right. Return spring's working nicely, and that's kind of pushed in there, so that's securing that spot there. We're a bit greasy, so when we drop in this guy, it kind of seesaws, so yes, we push on the inside. So that will push in from there, and we will need to put the spring in before we drop the nozzle in. That spring we shouldn't lose, and that will go like that. But before we do any of that, let's get the sights on. So we've got a choice to make. We've got two sets of sights. We have this guy here. This is a Dominator set. Sorry, yeah, this is from Detonator, sorry. And I don't actually think these will fit because they have 3 screws. There's 2 screws for this one, and there's 1 screw for this one here, and I don't see a hole in here to screw them. However, these are the DCI Guns ones, which I kind of like the look of these a bit better actually. So let's go with those. So we've got this guy here, which just goes in and we just have to kind of knock this down actually. Obviously we have to get it centered. And it's a little tight, so we've just got to kind of push it down there. Obviously we want to try and get it as close to center as possible, get it lined up. So gentle taps now, just to kind of get it towards the center. That looks okay. We can micro movement that like later. Let's pop this one on the back. This one should be a lot easier because this one's actually going to be fixed in with screws, so we don't have to rely on the friction fit for this. So that's going to get screwed in when we actually set up and drop in our nozzle. So our nozzle is going to go in there. Let's get that into position. And get those lined up. And try and get the Hold on, I think this is 2 springs actually. Oh yes, there's 2 springs here. Okay, we actually only need 1 of these. So good job, that looked a bit weird there. So what we take is, I will take our pliers. Drop that in place. And we have to kind of feed it through. And then that should go there. We've got that. Then we take what I'm going to just do is use this for some support on that side. The spring came out, which is a bit annoying. I'm wondering actually if we can, that will move. And then we can drop this guy in here. We should be able to drop them down. Then we've got that pushed in. Isn't quite all the way in yet. And then let's try and get this back. We could have an issue. I need to just knock this down a little bit. Because I just noticed we didn't have enough clearance to move that across. And then we should just be able to knock that down. Get this back in place. Right, that should be good. All we need to do now is worry about the screws. So we'll take the 2 screws. These unfortunately are not magnetic, so where it gets really annoying, because basically non-magnetic screws into a hole, trying to get them to all line up. We didn't lose a spring, did we? Let's hope that doesn't jam. We'll grease everything up before we start shooting with it anyway. We will just get this up and running. Right, let's go with it on those tweezers, pliers. Get that screw in there. The thing about these screws is they actually pull the nozzle housing to sort of in and tight against everything here. It's kind of keeping all of this in this housing. So that's actually looking kind of good now. There are a couple of, I wonder if those are rubber. We'll check those out later, but let's just give this everything a bit of a spray. Just so we've got everything covered off. Let's pop in the outer barrel. Put that back in. Make sure it's all fine. Hopefully that should be okay. And then we'll take our recoil spring and pop that back and give all of this a little bit of a spray as well, because my fingers have been all over it. And there we have. And that slide should now go, he says it should now go onto the thing, and there we go. So what we'll do is just pop the slide release catch back. So there we have the bulk of the upgrade done. We'll drop a mag in a second, and also just cleared some space. What I'm going to do is keep this little spring, keep the two screws from the old slide, keep the old slide thing, keep the old piston, drop that over to the side, drop that to the side. So we've got a mag here, mag's gassed. Nice heavy action there. So one of the things that the heavier slide does is when you're shooting, it gives you more kick. So you should be able to see here. Actually, I probably need a bit more gas in that. So let's just a bit more gas into that mag. Okay, so you'll be able to see. If you try and actually, if we look at my arm here, you should be able to see my arm. Good bit of kick onto my arm, which is nice. got a good feel to it. Good bit more weight. And it looks a little bit nicer. We've got the HK branding on there, which we do have on the plastic slide. But this is a bit more pronounced. It looks like it's got the white, we've got the serials and so on. We have our little rail adapter on there, and then we also have the stuff here. So we've got some nice markings on here now, and it looks good. Sights are good. Feels nice. Good bit of weight, extra weight to it as well, which is nice. Very nice little sort of thing now. So we have essentially one more upgrade to do, which I think we will do next time, which is the hammer spring. So the hammer spring, just for the record, is in here. So we'll need to sort of take this out and replace that. The hammer spring will mean that we'll use a heavier hammer spring so we can use heavier gas. Well, I've just run that with Guarded Black in it, just so it can move the heavier slide. I am awaiting a recoil spring for this as well, which is good. So that when the recoil spring, we can change that recoil spring in there. It's currently got the stock spring in there. It's got a stock hammer spring in there as well. We'll swap that out for one of these, probably the 130, and then we're sort of done. I'm still not 100% on the inner barrel on this, partly because it does stick out a little bit, as you can see here. So one of the things I may do is go down to the next size down from this, which is, this was a 97mm barrel. There is an 80, but the 80 is way too short. So what I may end up doing is going down to the 91mm barrel, which should, in theory, just put it at the edge of here when this is racked back like this. As you can see, when we cock it and release the slide, it is flush, but it's it could get damaged if you shoot like that and you bang that, you might damage that. So I am thinking that we maybe use the next size down barrel. So with that, we are pretty much done now. This was a bit of an upgrade for the upper of this pistol. It's part 2 of this series, and I think we're going to end up with 3 parts. And I cannot get that on. So the third part, we will be looking at the hammer spring, and hopefully by the time I do the third part, we may also have the recoil spring as well. So if that's come from Japan, then we will basically be fitting that at the same time as we do the hammer spring. So thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the content today in the video, please hit the like button, and we will see you guys next time. So thanks for watching, and have a great day.